So working with kids to conduct a neurodiversity affirming assessment is really important, and that is the first part of the assessment process. So, um, sometimes it's even basic things like, what does your office look like? Has my kid ever been there before? It's a new place. That might not be very comfortable for them to just come right in the fluorescent lights of your office and start testing. So it's even things like, you know, bringing up like, hey, my child has some or does best when we can kind of preview the setting beforehand. So is it okay if they, do a walkthrough of your office first? But even like for the assessor, making sure that we have sensory items that we, if a kid is laying on the floor, get on the floor with them and present the test items. We don't need to use token boards to get kids to comply. If they can't show what they know in a traditional way, that's okay. Stop the assessment, take a break, play a game, discontinue it altogether, and just say, you know what, we're not going to do this. We're going to do a non traditional assessment. And I think, as a provider, sometimes we're a little afraid to do that because we're worried about what parents might think if we don't get the score or if we don't get the assessment done. Are they going to think that I'm not a good psychologist? So sometimes even just sharing as a parent, sharing with them that that's not a priority for you, that you really want to be able to get at what the kid is able to do and what supports can be helpful for them. But getting a standardized score isn't the most important thing. If that applies for your situation, then that's great. Um, but yeah, just making sure that the kid feels really welcome and the assessment process feels easy, not easy, but not as harmful, I guess.
Right.
Not as aversive. That's what I was thinking.
And
And
not only about compliance.
and not only about compliance. And that's kind of like brings me to the very first thing is like thinking about the tools that we use when we're working with kids, right? So the first thing before I even start an assessment is I think about what tools I might use. Um, and it's really important that we don't just give tests that we know a kid is going to absolutely bomb, right? If we go into it knowing like this is going to be really the WISC 5 is really language heavy and this kid has lower receptive language. They have a harder time understanding language. Okay, I'm not going to give that assessment then, right? So it's really important that a skilled provider wouldn't do that, but some people just get used to giving the same tools over and over again.
Mhm.
So thinking about that, thinking about even thinking about our parents and the rating scales that we give, how are they going to view their child? And look, there really aren't strength-based or neurodiversity affirming rating scales. Um, but we can do our best to be selective about which ones we're going to be giving. And also making sure that we're not like overloading parents on rating scales because when we have neurodivergent kids, a lot of times we have neurodivergent parents too. So we need to be thoughtful about the things that we're administering to parents also. We want to think about the tools, we want to think about the environment, and we also want to think about including the child's voice in the assessment. And sometimes that looks like a interview with the child. And that's something that I've always done. But student voice comes out a little different now for me. It might not be their literal voice or things that I've asked them and things they tell me. Sometimes it's things that I've observed from them. Maybe it's something that I've observed from them, in a session in a small group or out on the playground, how they're interacting. That is also student voice, how you're seeing what they're gravitating towards. You're seeing what they're interested in. That is student voice as well. So just making sure that we're incorporating multiple aspects of student voice so that the report feels like them is really important.